15 legendary actors, 15 heartbreaking battles. Each of them once lit up Hollywood screens, yet behind the fame, they faced a silent enemy that would steal it all. Tonight, we uncover the haunting final days of those who fought and lost their lives to liver cancer. Number 1. David Bowie. In January of the year 2016, the world awoke to the devastating news that David Bowie had passed away in New York City. Only 2 days earlier, he had released his final album titled Black Star, a haunting farewell disguised as art. For 18 months, Bowie had battled liver cancer in secret, refusing to let his illness define the way the world saw him. He kept performing, writing, and creating, even as his body began to fail. Those closest to him later revealed that he faced the disease with quiet determination and a sense of artistic purpose that never wavered. During the last months of his life, he spent long hours in the recording studio, pushing himself through the pain. Each song on Black Star became a coded message, a final conversation with the audience who had followed him for decades. Friends described him as serene yet visibly frail, his sharp eyes still full of fire. He spoke little about his condition, preferring to channel his fear and pain into music. His producer, Tony Visconti, later said that the album was Bowie's parting gift, his way of saying goodbye without words. Doctors had warned that the cancer had spread beyond the point of treatment, but Bowie chose to continue working rather than retreat. His wife Iman and his children stood by him in quiet support, keeping his secret to preserve his dignity. On the night before his death, he was reportedly peaceful, listening to jazz and surrounded by family. When the news broke, fans across the world gathered in London, Berlin, and Los Angeles, leaving flowers, candles, and handwritten notes. Murals appeared overnight, tributes filled the streets, and radio stations played his songs without pause. It felt as if a piece of modern art itself had died, not just a musician, but a shape-shifting storyteller who had turned his own ending into performance. David Bowie's passing reminded the world that even the brightest stars can fade quietly, choosing grace over spectacle. His last act was not a cry for sympathy, but an affirmation of life, creativity, and mystery. His art outlived the disease that took him, ensuring his legacy would never dim. Which of David Bowie's songs still touches your heart the most? Share your thoughts below. Your memory might inspire someone else to listen again. Number 2. Flip Wilson. In November of the year 1998, the world of comedy lost one of its brightest and most beloved entertainers. Flip Wilson, the man who made millions laugh with his groundbreaking variety show during the 1970s, died at his home in Malibu, California, after a long and private battle with liver cancer. He was 64 years old. For years, he had stayed away from the spotlight, preferring a quiet life by the sea with his family and close friends. Those who knew him said he faced his illness with the same calm humor that had once made him a household name. During his final months, Wilson refused to dwell on pain or fear. Instead, he spent his days surrounded by laughter, often watching reruns of his old sketches that had changed the face of television comedy. He had become the first African-American entertainer to host a successful weekly variety show in prime time, and his alter ego, Geraldine Jones, had turned into a cultural phenomenon. Even as his health declined, he continued to joke with his nurses, reminding everyone around him that joy was stronger than despair. Doctors had diagnosed his cancer several years before his death, but Wilson chose to keep it private. He underwent treatment quietly, avoiding interviews and public appearances. He had grown tired of fame and found peace in simple things, watching sunsets, walking along the beach, and spending time with his children. Friends recalled that he was often reflective, grateful for the years when the world embraced his comedy and for the fans who had never forgotten him. On the evening of his passing, the house was calm. The Pacific breeze drifted through the open windows, carrying the faint sound of laughter from a television rerun of The Flip Wilson Show. It was as if the man who had once brought joy to millions was saying goodbye with the very sound that defined his life. When news of his death spread, tributes poured in from fellow comedians and television legends who credited him for paving the way for generations of Black entertainers. His influence lived on in every performer who dared to mix humor with truth and grace. Flip Wilson's departure marked the end of an era, but his spirit, defined by warmth and laughter, remained timeless, a reminder that even in silence, joy leaves echoes. Number 3. Alan Bates. In December of the year 2003, British actor Alan Bates passed away at a hospital in London after fighting liver cancer for more than 2 years. He was 69 years old. His death brought to a close one of the most respected careers in both film and theater. Known for his deep voice and emotional range, Bates had spent decades captivating audiences with performances that balanced intensity and tenderness. Even as his health deteriorated, he continued to work, determined to keep acting until his body could no longer allow it. During his final year, Bates appeared visibly thinner but maintained his trademark charm. He was seen attending events in support of British theater, often smiling and chatting warmly with younger actors. Those who met him in those moments described a man who was at peace with his fate. He had come to accept his illness without bitterness, focusing instead on the craft that had defined his life. Doctors had warned him early that his cancer had spread, but Bates refused to stop working. He performed on stage and appeared in several television dramas while receiving treatment. His colleagues often spoke of his extraordinary discipline, describing how he would rest quietly between takes, then step before the camera with renewed energy. He never complained, even when the pain became visible in his face. For Bates, acting was not merely a profession but a lifeline, a way to stay connected to the world he loved. In private, he spent his remaining months with family and close friends at his home in Surrey. The countryside brought him comfort, reminding him of his early years before fame. He spoke often about gratitude for art, for friendship, and for the audience who had followed his journey from Zorba the Greek to Gosford Park. His son Benedict later said that his father had been calm and graceful in his final days, a man who met death with quiet dignity. When the news of his passing reached the theater community, tributes flooded in from across the world. Actors and directors praised his passion, calling him one of the finest of his generation. The stage lights of London's West End dimmed that evening in his memory. Alan Bates's life ended where it had always belonged, surrounded by art, remembered not for his illness, but for the depth and honesty of his performances. Number 4. Lupe Ontiveros. In July of the year 2012, the world of film lost one of its most vibrant and fearless actresses. Lupe Ontiveros passed away in Whittier, California, after a battle with liver cancer that she had kept largely private. She was 69 years old. For decades, Ontiveros had been a powerful presence on screen, best remembered for her unforgettable roles in Selena, Real Women Have Curves, and Desperate Housewives. Her performances brought dignity, humor, and authenticity to characters that Hollywood often overlooked. During her final months, Ontiveros faced her illness with quiet strength. Friends said she continued to work and attend community events, rarely showing signs of pain. She never wanted pity. What she wanted most was to keep inspiring young Latino artists to dream beyond the limits set for them. Her laughter remained loud, her spirit unbroken, even as her health declined. Doctors had told her that the cancer was aggressive, but she refused to let it take control of her life. She surrounded herself with family, faith, and the same determination that had guided her from the start. Raised in Texas, Ontiveros had once planned to become a social worker before discovering acting. That same empathy she carried into every role, turning even small parts into moments of truth. On set, she was known for her warmth and honesty, often mentoring younger actors with tough love and humor. As her strength faded, she spent her days at home, reflecting on the journey that had brought her from community theater to the red carpets of Hollywood. Those close to her said she remained grateful for every opportunity and proud of the stories she helped tell. Her final wish was that people remember her for her laughter, her courage, and her love for her community. When the news of her death broke, tributes poured in from across the industry. Actors like America Ferrera and Eva Longoria shared heartfelt messages, calling her a trailblazer and a second mother. In Los Angeles, candlelight vigils were held to honor her memory, and fans revisited her films, celebrating the character she had brought to life with such heart. Lupe Ontiveros left behind a legacy far greater than fame. She gave voice to those who had none and showed that authenticity could move mountains. Which of Lupe's performances do you remember the most? Leave your thoughts below and keep her spirit alive through your memories. Number 5. Taylor Negron. In January of the year 2015, the entertainment world mourned the passing of Taylor Negron, a gifted actor, comedian, and writer whose unique humor and thoughtful presence had touched audiences for decades. He died at his home in Los Angeles after a long battle with liver cancer. He was 57 years old. For years, he had kept his illness private, continuing to write, paint, and perform even as his body grew weaker. Negron's career had been built on his ability to turn ordinary moments into something quietly profound. He appeared in films such as Fast Times at Ridgemont High, The Last Boy Scout, and Angels in the Outfield, always bringing a touch of sincerity beneath the comedy. In the months before his death, he spoke more openly about life, art, and mortality, often through essays and spoken-word performances. His humor remained sharp, but there was a new depth, a calm acceptance that reflected his inner peace. Doctors had told him that his cancer had spread beyond the liver, yet he continued to travel, paint, and perform small shows whenever his health allowed. Friends described him as luminous, saying that even when he was in pain, his spirit felt light. He was known for finding beauty in imperfection, for seeing poetry in everyday life. During his final weeks, he surrounded himself with music, art, and the company of close friends who loved him deeply. His cousin, Chuck Negron, the former singer of Three Dog Night, confirmed his passing with words that reflected the family's love and admiration. The loss was felt deeply in the comedy community. Many colleagues remembered him not only for his talent, but for his kindness and intellect. He had often mentored younger comedians, encouraging them to be authentic rather than simply funny. In the days that followed, tributes came from across Hollywood. Fellow performers spoke of his warmth, his eloquence, and his gentle rebellion against convention. To them, Negron was an artist in the purest sense, someone who lived for expression, not applause. His death reminded many that humor and heartbreak can coexist, that laughter can be a form of courage. Taylor Negron's life ended quietly, but his voice, layered with humor and humanity, continued to echo long after he was gone. Number 6. Vinnie Vella. In February of the year 2019, Hollywood lost one of its most recognizable character actors. Vinnie Vella passed away in New York City after battling liver cancer for several months. He was 72 years old. Known for his memorable roles in Casino and The Sopranos, Vella had built a career playing tough, streetwise characters who carried both humor and heart. Behind the camera, however, he was warm, generous, and deeply connected to his roots in Little Italy. During his final months, Vella continued to make appearances in his neighborhood, often greeting fans who knew him simply as Vinny from Mulberry Street. Even as his health weakened, he stayed true to his identity, a proud New Yorker with a love for family, food, and storytelling. Friends said he faced his illness with quiet courage and an unshakable sense of humor. He often joked that he had played so many gangsters on screen that cancer did not scare him anymore. Doctors had informed him that his condition was terminal, but Vella remained optimistic. He believed in living fully until the very end. He spent his last weeks surrounded by family, friends, and the familiar sounds of Sinatra songs playing in his apartment. His son, Vinny Jr., later said that his father never stopped smiling, even when the pain grew unbearable. To him, laughter was medicine, and connection was everything. His passing sent ripples through the entertainment community, particularly among Italian-American actors who saw him as both mentor and friend. Directors like Martin Scorsese had admired his authenticity, the way he could bring real-life texture to every scene without ever feeling scripted. Many remembered him as the heartbeat of New York film culture, a man who carried the spirit of the city in every role he played. Fans left flowers and photographs at his favorite cafe, a small corner spot where he had spent countless afternoons talking about life and cinema. It became a place of quiet remembrance, a symbol of how much he meant to those who knew him. Vinnie Vella's story ended where it began in the heart of New York, surrounded by the people and places he loved. His passing marked not only the loss of a familiar face, but the fading of an era defined by authenticity and grit. Number 7. Robert Swan. In August of the year 2023, the film industry bid farewell to Robert Swan, a respected actor known for his grounded performances in The Untouchables, Hoosiers, and Rudy. He passed away at the age of 78 after a long battle with liver cancer. His death in Illinois marked the end of a quiet yet impactful career that had stretched across film, television, and stage. Swan had spent his final years surrounded by family, still deeply connected to the theater community that first shaped him. During his last months, he spoke often about gratitude and art. Friends said he never complained, even as the disease weakened him. He had always viewed acting as service, a way to share truth through character. Those who visited him during his illness remembered his gentle humor and unwavering calm. He would talk about his favorite scenes, about the days working with directors like Brian De Palma and how proud he felt to have been part of films that lasted through generations. Doctors had told him his cancer was aggressive, but Swan chose to live his remaining time with purpose. He spent hours writing letters to friends, reminiscing about old theater productions, and encouraging younger actors to never give up on their craft. His words carried the same sincerity that had defined his performances. When he grew too weak to leave home, he found peace in listening to classical music and watching old westerns, genres that had first inspired him as a child growing up in Chicago. When the news of his death spread, tributes poured in from actors and directors who had worked with him. Many described him as a man without ego, someone who brought authenticity to every scene. In an era often driven by fame, Robert Swan remained grounded. He never chased stardom, but his work earned lasting respect. His passing reminded many of the quiet heroes of cinema, those who build the emotional foundation of stories without seeking the spotlight. For audiences, his face may have been familiar more than famous, but his performances carried weight, humanity, and truth. Robert Swan's final act was one of grace, a life lived with humility and devotion to storytelling. Which of his roles do you remember most vividly? Leave a comment below to share your favorite memory of his work. Number 8. Don Edmonds. In May of the year 2009, filmmaker and actor Don Edmonds passed away in Los Angeles after a battle with liver cancer. He was 73 years old. His death marked the end of a long and unconventional career that spanned acting, directing, and producing. Known for his fearless creativity, Edmonds had worked across genres, from television dramas of the 1960s to cult films that later gained international recognition. During his final months, Edmonds remained active in the film community. Despite his declining health, he continued mentoring young filmmakers and attending small screenings of his earlier works. Friends recalled that he never lost his sense of humor or curiosity. He spoke often about how storytelling had defined his life and how he wanted to be remembered as someone who gave opportunities to others. His love for film had begun at a young age, and even as cancer took his strength, he found comfort in watching classic movies from his hospital bed. Doctors had diagnosed his illness late, and by the time treatment began, the disease had already spread. Still, Edmonds faced the situation with calm acceptance. He had always lived on his own terms, and he intended to leave the world that way too. Colleagues described him as independent and compassionate, a man who never followed Hollywood's rules but always respected its craft. Those who visited him in his final days said his mind remained sharp, filled with ideas and memories from decades behind the camera. When his passing was announced, tributes came from across the film industry. Directors and actors who had worked with him spoke about his generosity, calling him a mentor who encouraged boldness and authenticity. His legacy extended far beyond the controversial films that made his name. He had also directed episodes for television, produced independent projects, and helped young artists get their first breaks. In his later years, Edmonds had often said that film was about emotion, not perfection. That belief guided his entire life and career. His death closed a chapter in independent cinema, one defined by passion, risk, and relentless creativity. Don Edmonds left behind a body of work that reflected his fearless approach to art and his refusal to let boundaries define his vision. Number 9. Jean-Paul Vignon. In February of the year 2023, Jean-Paul Vignon, the French-born actor, singer, and voice artist who had spent much of his career in Hollywood, passed away after a battle with liver cancer. He was 91 years old. His death marked the end of a long, artistic journey that bridged continents and cultures. Known for his charming accent and smooth baritone voice, Vignon brought a touch of elegance to both stage and screen, often portraying characters that reflected his European sophistication. During his final years, he continued to perform small concerts in Los Angeles, where he lived for decades. Even as his health declined, he remained active, attending gatherings of musicians and sharing stories about his early days in Paris. Friends said he faced his illness with dignity and gratitude, often speaking about the beauty of life rather than the fear of death. He had lived fully, they said, and he accepted his final chapter as part of a long, extraordinary story. Doctors had diagnosed his liver cancer late, and treatment offered little hope for recovery. Still, Vignon's passion for music never dimmed. He continued to record small projects from home, his voice still rich with the warmth that had once charmed audiences around the world. He spent his days surrounded by photographs, sheet music, and letters from fans who had followed his career since the 1960s. He often listened to old recordings, smiling softly as familiar melodies filled the room. Born in Paris, he had begun as a cabaret singer before moving to the United States, where he found success not only as a performer but as a beloved figure in the entertainment community. He lent his voice to films, commercials, and television programs, his accent instantly recognizable. Those who worked with him remembered his kindness, patience, and timeless sense of class. When the news of his passing reached the media, tributes came from across the French and American entertainment worlds. Colleagues described him as a true gentleman of the arts, someone who carried culture and grace wherever he went. Jean-Paul Vignon's life ended quietly, yet his legacy continued to echo through the songs, performances, and memories he left behind. A voice that spoke of love, elegance, and endurance. Number 10. Dennis Quilley. In October of the year 2003, the British stage and film actor Dennis Quilley passed away in London after a courageous battle with liver cancer. He was 75 years old. His passing marked the loss of one of England's most versatile performers, a man whose career had spanned more than 5 decades across theater, television, and film. Audiences remembered him for roles in Evita, Murder on the Orient Express, and The Black Windmill. But those who knew him best admired his unmatched dedication to the craft of acting. During his final months, Quilley continued to work whenever his strength allowed. He was rehearsing a stage production when illness forced him to step back, and colleagues later said that leaving the theater was the hardest decision of his life. Even as the disease advanced, he remained deeply involved in the arts, reading scripts and mentoring younger performers from his hospital bed. His presence was described as calm, witty, and full of warmth, a reflection of his lifelong belief that acting was a celebration of humanity. Doctors had warned that the cancer had spread quickly, but Quilley accepted his fate with quiet grace. He had never been drawn to fame. Instead, he valued the discipline and community of theater. Friends recalled his sharp sense of humor and the way he could transform from commanding Shakespearean roles to charming comic parts with ease. His wife Stella stood by him throughout his illness, often reading him poetry and lines from plays they had loved together. As the end approached, he asked that no grand public announcement be made. He preferred a simple farewell, surrounded by family and a few close colleagues. When news of his death finally reached the theater community, tributes poured in from actors, directors, and critics alike. The National Theatre released a statement honoring him as a performer of quiet brilliance and lasting integrity. That evening, lights across London's West End dimmed in his memory. For many, it was more than a gesture. It was a recognition of a man who had given his entire life to the stage. Dennis Quilley's passing closed a chapter in British theatre defined by talent, humility, and heart. Which of his performances remains unforgettable to you? Share your thoughts below and honor his memory through your favorite moment. Number 11. June Fairchild. In February of the year 2015, actress June Fairchild passed away in Los Angeles after suffering from liver cancer. She was 68 years old. Her death brought to a close a turbulent yet unforgettable life that mirrored the wild spirit of Hollywood's counterculture era. Known for her roles in Up in Smoke, Head and Drive, he said, Fairchild had once been a rising star in the late 1960s, celebrated for her free-spirited beauty and fearless attitude. During her final years, she lived a quiet and humble life far removed from the glamour of her youth. Friends and local supporters described her as kind and resilient, a woman who never lost her sense of humor despite decades of hardship. Liver cancer was the final battle in a life filled with both fame and struggle. She had endured years of addiction and homelessness before finding sobriety and peace. Those who visited her during her illness said she remained grateful, choosing to remember the good times rather than dwell on regret. Doctors had diagnosed her condition in its later stages, leaving little chance of recovery. Fairchild accepted the reality of her illness with remarkable calm. She often spoke about her memories from Hollywood's golden counterculture days, recalling the musicians and actors she once knew. She had been romantically linked to rock icons and had appeared in films that defined a generation. Yet she never spoke with bitterness about what was lost. Instead, she focused on forgiveness, especially toward herself. In her final months, she lived in a small apartment, arranged with the help of friends who admired her perseverance. She spent her time reading, sketching, and occasionally giving interviews reflecting on her journey. Her voice, though faint, still carried warmth and wit. She told those close to her that she hoped to be remembered not for her mistakes but for her laughter and her love for life. When her passing was announced, tributes came from both film fans and members of the Los Angeles community who had helped her rebuild her life. Many described her as a symbol of both Hollywood's beauty and its fragility. June Fairchild's story ended quietly, but her spirit remained vivid, a reminder that behind every lost star is a human being who once burned brightly and lived fully. Number 12. Louis Dober. In October of the year 2019, actor Louis Dober passed away in Los Angeles after a long battle with liver cancer. He was 70 years old. His death was mourned by many in the television community, where he had spent decades building a career as one of Hollywood's most familiar faces in supporting roles. Known for his warm demeanor and gentle screen presence, Dober often portrayed priests, teachers, and men of quiet wisdom, roles that reflected his own kind nature off-screen. During his final months, he continued to work on small projects when his health allowed. Those who visited him said he faced his illness with peace and grace, never losing his sense of humor or gratitude. He spoke often about how blessed he felt to have lived a life surrounded by art and friendship. Acting had been more than a career for him. It had been a calling. His ability to bring sincerity to even the smallest scenes earned him respect from peers and audiences alike. Doctors had diagnosed his liver cancer several years before, and he endured multiple treatments with strength and optimism. He never let the illness define him. When he grew too weak to perform, he began writing short essays and reflections about his experiences in Hollywood, emphasizing the beauty of small moments and the importance of kindness. His wife and longtime collaborator, Paulette, supported him through every stage, often describing him as a man who brought light into every room. Friends from the industry organized small gatherings to celebrate his life even before his passing, something he deeply appreciated. They shared memories from sets, stories of laughter between takes, and the calm presence he carried even in stressful situations. He had been part of countless television shows, from family dramas to police procedurals, each appearance leaving a quiet but lasting mark. When news of his death was announced, tributes poured in from co-stars and producers who spoke of his generosity and professionalism. Many remembered how he treated everyone on set, from lead actors to crew members, with equal respect. Louis Dober's life was defined not by fame but by character. His passing left a void in Hollywood's heart, a reminder that sometimes the most enduring stars are the ones who shine softly, illuminating others rather than themselves. Number 13. Patrick Desmond. In May of the year 2002, character actor Patrick Desmond passed away in Los Angeles after a determined fight with liver cancer. He was 52 years old. His death ended a career defined by consistency, professionalism, and quiet dedication. Desmond had spent more than 2 decades working steadily in television and film, appearing in shows and movies where his talent added depth to every scene, even when his name was not always in the spotlight. During his last months, Desmond remained active in the theater community, attending rehearsals and workshops despite his weakening health. Friends recalled that he carried himself with calm dignity, never letting pain overshadow his passion for performance. He often said that acting was his way of staying connected to life, that every role, no matter how small, deserved truth and care. His colleagues described him as generous, patient, and deeply supportive of younger actors just starting out in the industry. Doctors had told him that his illness was terminal, but Desmond continued to work until he no longer could. He appeared in several independent projects shortly before his death, giving performances that revealed both strength and vulnerability. He was known for his sharp memory and quiet humor, often lightening the mood on set even during long and difficult days. Those who knew him personally said he refused to let fear define his final chapter. He accepted his condition with humility, choosing to focus on creativity and gratitude instead. In private moments, he spent time with close friends and family, often reminiscing about the early days of his career. He had begun as a stage actor before moving into television, and his heart never left the theater. His love for performance extended beyond fame. It was about connection, emotion, and craft. In his final weeks, he told friends that his only wish was to be remembered as an honest actor who gave everything he had to his work. When the news of his passing was made public, tributes came quietly but sincerely. Directors and co-stars spoke about his reliability, his discipline, and the warmth he brought to every production. Patrick Desmond's journey ended too soon. yet his devotion to storytelling remained an example for those who came after him. Which of his performances do you remember most? Share your thoughts below to honor his memory and keep his light alive. Number 14. Denise Barrino Quinn. In October of the year 2010, actress Denise Barrino Quinn passed away in New Jersey after a long struggle with liver cancer. She was 46 years old. Her death shocked fans of the acclaimed television series The Sopranos, where she had portrayed Ginny Sacramone, the warm and witty wife of a mob boss. Her performance, filled with humor and humanity, turned a small supporting role into one of the show's most beloved characters. During her final months, she lived quietly in her hometown, surrounded by her husband and close family. Those who knew her described her as kind, humble, and full of laughter even as she faced the most difficult days of her illness. Before her acting career began, Barrino Quinn had worked as a legal secretary in New Jersey. Her journey to Hollywood was almost accidental. She had attended an open casting call for The Sopranos on a whim and won the role out of thousands of hopefuls. That unexpected turn became a defining moment in her life, one that she cherished deeply until the end. Doctors diagnosed her liver cancer several years before her passing. She underwent treatment with optimism and determination, never giving up hope. Friends said she faced her illness with the same warmth and humor that had made her famous. Even when the pain grew intense, she remained positive, often sending encouraging messages to others battling illness. Her strength inspired not only her loved ones, but also fans who learned of her condition later. After her husband Luke's death earlier that same year, her health began to decline more rapidly. Yet she continued to find comfort in the memories of their life together, speaking about him with love and gratitude. She often told friends that meeting him and acting on The Sopranos were the two great blessings of her life. When news of her passing broke, tributes poured in from co-stars and fans alike. Many remembered her generosity and humility, qualities that made her stand out in an industry often defined by ego. She had lived without pretense, balancing ordinary life and sudden fame with grace. Denise Barrino Quinn's story ended far too soon, but her authenticity and warmth left a lasting mark on the hearts of those who watched her on screen and those who knew her in person. Number 15. Pierre Clementi. In December of the year 1999, the French actor and director Pierre Clementi passed away in Paris after a long battle with liver cancer. He was 57 years old. His death marked the loss of one of Europe's most enigmatic and daring performers, a man whose career had blended art, rebellion, and philosophy. Clementi was best known to international audiences for his work in films such as The Conformist, Belle de Jour, and The Leopard. His striking looks and fearless performances made him a symbol of avant-garde cinema during the 1960s and 70s. During his final years, he continued to write, paint, and stay involved in independent film projects. Even as his health declined, he never lost his passion for creative expression. Friends recall that he was constantly sketching, reading, and dreaming about new ideas. He had always seen art as a form of resistance, a way to challenge conformity and celebrate individuality. Cancer, to him, was just another adversary to confront with courage. Those who visited him said he remained calm, philosophical, and unafraid of what was coming. Doctors had discovered the disease late, and there was little that could be done to stop its progression. Yet Clementi faced his illness with quiet strength. He spent his final months surrounded by his son, his closest friends, and the art that had defined his life. His apartment was filled with books, paintings, and film reels, fragments of a mind that never stopped creating. He spoke often about peace, about the beauty of imperfection, and about how an artist never truly dies as long as his work continues to speak. After his passing, tributes flowed from filmmakers and actors across France and Italy. Many described him as a visionary who lived entirely on his own terms. His son, Balthazar Clementi, later said that his father's final wish was not for fame or recognition, but simply to be remembered as someone who lived authentically. Pierre Clementi's departure closed a remarkable chapter in European cinema, one filled with risk, beauty, and unyielding creativity. His art continues to inspire those who see film as more than entertainment, as a mirror of the human spirit. Thank you for watching. If you love stories that honor the stars who shaped Hollywood and beyond, remember to subscribe for more. Until next time, take care and see you in the next video.